close your eyes, let the faint noise of the world slip away as darkness surrounds you. And now, in the quiet stillness, let me guide you into tales that stir the imagination, twist reality, and remind you that not even your dreams are safe. These are disturbing bedtime stories to help you sleep, or perhaps keep you awake. Please adapt this chapter as is. Jennifer lived alone in a remote cabin surrounded by towering pine trees. She had moved there to escape the chaos of the city, longing for peace and solitude. The cabin was old-fashioned and cozy, with creaky wooden floors and a large grandfather clock standing in the corner of the living room. She loved the clock's steady ticking. It was reassuring, a rhythm to break the silence of her isolated world. One night, as she lay in bed staring up at the ceiling, she realized the ticking was louder than usual. It wasn't the soft, soothing sound she had grown accustomed to. It was sharp, insistent, like fingernails tapping against glass. She got up and walked into the living room. The clock stood where it always had, its hands frozen on midnight. Yet, the ticking continued. Jennifer frowned. The clock wasn't working. How could it be ticking? She reached out to touch the face of the clock when suddenly, the ticking stopped. Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. Then, from inside the clock, she heard a faint whisper. A voice, hoarse and dry, murmured, "Time has run out." Before Jennifer could react, the hands of the clock began spinning wildly, and her vision grew hazy. When she woke up, she was no longer in her cabin. She was standing in a forest, the trees twisted and warped as if they were alive, their branches clawing at the sky. Jennifer's cabin was never found, only the broken grandfather clock, sitting alone in the woods. Tom was a night owl. He loved the quiet hours after midnight when he could sit by his desk, headphones on, immersing himself in music or books. But tonight felt different. The air was thick, unmoving. He felt watched. Maybe it was just his imagination, he thought. Maybe that's what you get when your only source of light is the pale glow of a desk lamp. With a sigh, he closed his laptop and turned off the lamp, climbing into bed. The darkness swelled around him. It was suffocating, heavier than usual. Tom closed his eyes, desperate to fall asleep. Minutes passed. Then a familiar pressure made itself known at the foot of his bed. He froze. It felt like someone sitting there, as they always did. For years, Tom had convinced himself the nightly sensation was a strange trick of his mind. But something stopped him from turning on the light or looking down to confirm it. Tonight, though, curiosity took hold. His hand fumbled for his phone on the bedside table. With trembling fingers, he turned on the flashlight and pointed it toward the foot of the bed. His breath caught in his throat. The light revealed nothing, only his blanket. But the pressure was still there, heavier now. He pulled the blanket aside, expecting nothing but the fabric of his mattress. Instead, he saw two pale hands gripping the edge of the bed. Tom clutched his chest, unable to speak. Slowly, the hands retreated into the darkness under the bed, where, he realized too late, they had been waiting all along. Maria's new apartment seemed perfect, affordable, close to work, and filled with charming historical details. But as the nights grew longer, the apartment began to feel less welcoming. It started with faint sounds, barely audible whispers coming from within the walls. Maria thought nothing of it. But the whispers grew louder, and they didn't sound like mice. They sounded like voices. One night, as she lay on her couch attempting to drown out the whispers with music, the voices shifted. "Hello, Maria," one of them said. The voice was calm, almost pleasant, but it spoke from everywhere at once, the ceiling, the walls, the floor. Maria stumbled for the door, only to find it wouldn't open. And then we're inside. Maria stumbled for the door, only to find it wouldn't open. The locks were gone, completely vanished. She pounded on the door, yelling for help, but her cries were swallowed by laughter coming from the walls. When her neighbors found her the next day, she was lying motionless in the apartment. She had clawed at the walls until her fingers bled, desperate to escape. No one ever rented apartment 12B again. At a quaint flea market in a small town, Ellie stumbled across an old Polaroid camera. It was dusty and scratched, but still functional, and the man selling it said it had a unique charm. Ellie loved photography and bought it on a whim. She thought it would be fun to take vintage-style photos on her walks through the countryside. The first photo she took was of an old oak tree. It came out beautifully, its branches stretching across the frame. But as she looked closer, Ellie noticed something unsettling. A figure stood at the base of the tree, barely visible in the corner of the image. She didn't remember seeing anyone there when she took the photo. Shrugging it off, Ellie continued using the camera. But every picture she took had the same figure, gray, blurry, standing closer each time. In a photo of a bridge, it crouched on the railing. In a photo of her back garden, it lingered just outside her fence. When she took a photo of herself in the mirror, her blood ran cold. The figure wasn't behind her, it was standing right next to her, its blurred face staring directly into hers. Ellie smashed the camera and buried it far away in the woods, hoping to rid herself of its strange curse. But each morning she woke up to find photographs tucked under her door, pictures of herself taken while she slept. And now as you lie in bed, alone in the darkness, remember that these stories are only that, stories. But if you ever hear a whisper in the walls, feel a weight at the foot of your bed, or hear the ticking of a clock that has long stopped working, don't dismiss it. Because sometimes the things we think are fiction are closer than we realize. Sleep well if you can.